I totally thought that I like got out of the holiday rush by getting out of work in retail. But there's just a whole it's just a different
It's
it's just a
different. Different
totally
rush.
different holiday rush, but it's still a holiday rush. But in any case, this wraps up the year in Steam, and so I thought it would be a fun thing for us to do at the beginning of the show today to review our Steam Replay 2024. And unfortunately, I can't share my screen, but and it would probably be boring if we just went through every single topic.
Yeah,
But we'll pick out some highlights and
and the
review
lowlights.
it. I'm really surprised by the results. I don't know that it makes sense, but so for example, it says Steam Replay 2024 games played. It says that I played 32 games this year,
Okay.
21 new games. That seems like an awful lot to me. How many games did it say that you played this year?
So it says I played 43
Wow.
and I had 15 new games.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty on par. Okay.
So I will say that 43, I'd say 40 of those were probably just installed and were played like for 5 seconds.
Yeah, a lot of those are mine too. I buy things on
I
some kind
wonder.
of sale.
So this is a little speculation, but I
Yeah.
wonder if it has anything to do with switching like between Windows and Linux and stuff like that. Like maybe there's some things that are just not quite tuned in for that, so there's kind of extras. I don't know.
Oh, you're probably right. I can think about. All right, so we do a lot of distro switching because of the podcast.
No.
I could totally see that because I almost always install a new distribution, and then I install Steam, and then I install ESO, and I install whatever MMOs. And if you think about an MMO, they have a launcher, right? So like you run the launcher. Steam thinks you're playing the game. In reality, you're using the launcher to download the files for the game. So
as soon as you hit that play button, Steam thinks you're playing. So
right, exactly. So that actually is probably why. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear like a non-Linux gamer. Please, in the comments, tell us how many games you played this year. We'll do a little competition to see. There's no prize. There's no prize, but we'll do a little. We'll see who has the highest
street
games
cred,
played.
okay? Street cred.
I feel 32 is a lot because I feel like I play the same games over and over again. So
Yeah.
I feel like 32 is
Right.
higher than I was expecting.
No, I totally agree with you there. I play the same games over and over again, so yeah.
What were the three? So these next three games, are they saying these are the ones that we spend the most time playing?
I believe so. So.
It doesn't match up with the genre that they said that I played the most. None of these. So it says that I played MMOs the most, which that makes 100% sense. I do play MMOs way more than anything else. But as far as individual games, it said that I played Tabletop Simulator 25% of the time.
I wonder what it considers that.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah. Oh, does it? It might consider Tabletop Simulator an MMO.
Probably
because a lot of people play it, but it's got like a lobby system. You really only play with one other person usually, so I don't know that it's an MMO.
I don't know.
I don't know how Steam classifies it or why they pegged me correctly as an MMO player.
They just know.
But also Magic the Gathering Arena, which is true. I play that a lot. And Alone in the Dark, which I feel like I played. I did the two like new titles that I bought this year and played that were like single player games was Alone in the Dark and the Silent Hill 2 remake.
Right.
I feel like the Silent Hill 2 remake should have clocked in more time, but it may not have because I played it alone and I played Alone in the Dark with my son. So it probably took longer for us to play it together than I would have played by myself.
That's probably true. I would imagine so.
What are your top three?
So I'm gonna lose my gamer card here.
All dinosaur related.
One is. So first game, 21% is Sims 4.
Okay.
So I will say that a lot of times I play that on one of my screens while I'm doing something else also. Yeah. So it's kind of like going in the background. So that's probably why it's so high.
Okay.
Because it's like casual. You don't have to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
The next one.
I thought you were going to say that's when your wife is at your PC.
All right, just switch it. Just playing.
Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, my second game is Cassette Beasts, which is 16%.
Oh wow, you just got that not too long ago.
Yeah, I got that in June, I think it is. Down further, it tells me exactly when I got it.
Okay. It's older than I thought. Okay.
Yeah, but like 1 month is like almost all that playtime.
Yeah.
And then the next one down is Prehistoric Hunt, which is 15%.
Yeah, that's the one I predicted was Prehistoric Hunt.
I can't believe it wasn't more. But so this is the thing with that game. Little side story here is, so they've been saying for 4 months now that they were going to get this update out. And I don't think they're not going to deliver on it. I just think they're biting off way too much. Because there's a ton of features that they're trying to put in. There's a ton of bug fixes they're trying to put in. I wish they would have just done bug fixes for each month, just a couple, and then all the features at once, whatever, Yeah. But so I've been waiting for months for this update, and it's like a huge update. So
I know what you mean. There's I don't know if they're a small developer, like a small team of developers for that game, but I know that's the way indie MMO. It's like.
I don't know how many people are developing that game.
Once they list off more than a certain number of features, I'm like, that's never going to come out.
If there's not that many of them, because the game is actually put together really well.
Yeah. So I don't do a lot of achievements, so I don't really have anything in this next section to really call out. Are you like a big achievement
I got quite a few.
Okay.
Because I don't do achievements either, but I got quite a few from cassette.
Oh, really? How many achievements did you unlock?
So I got 182 achievements.
Okay. So I only have 48 achievements because I play the same games over and over again. I'm surprised at the top that it said I played 21 new games. I can't think of 21 new games that I got in the last 5 years, much less last year. But I play the same games over and over again, and I'm not like a big achievements person. So 48 is, I'm sure that 80 people listening to the show, there's some people out there that are like love achievements. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. My one friend, he absolutely loves achievements. He's trying to like 100% all of his games.
Yeah. I appreciate those gamers, but I can't do that. I don't have it. I don't have it in me.
I agree.
But it does say they have new, recent, and classic games. Why don't I try to guess yours and you try to guess mine?
Okay.
I think they're similar. I think your highest score is classic. No.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
it's actually surprising.
What is your highest score?
It's actually recent.
Recent
by a huge margin.
Wow. Okay.
Which I was shocked at because I do a lot of classic stuff.
Yeah, I thought for sure it would be classic. You and I both are cheapskates, and so I could see it would never be new for either one of us. It would have to be recent or classic because it's either something that's recent but is now on sale, or it's like a classic game that only costs $7.99 anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, mine is classic. 47% classic. 47, nice. Not 70.
Okay, so next year I predict, little prediction here, that my classics is going to go way up.
Because you got a Steam Deck.
Yes, because I got the Steam Deck.
Oh, you are going to be appalled when we get to the Steam Deck section for me.
Oh no.
Yeah. All right, so you are what you play. And so they
this one's funny for me.
We'll have to do an image crop of this and post it in the show notes. You already showed me yours. So mine is, my highest average is MMORPG, which easily, I'm not surprised whatsoever.
Is that all the way maxed out to the far edge?
It's maxed out, maxed out.
Yep.
Close second, almost maxed out, but close second is dungeon crawlers. So again, they're definitely my two favorite categories. And let's see if any of these other ones surprise me. My next highest is survival horror. Oh my gosh, they're like so spot on. That is definitely true. And then tabletop, which I guess if I was playing Tabletop Simulator, that makes sense. Dragons, just dragons in general.
Just dragons.
Just games that have dragons. And open world survival craft. Oh, I did do a little bit of that this year. I don't normally play those types of games, but this year I can think of a few titles that I picked up and played that were like survival, that type of thing.
Nice.
What is your highest category?
So my highest category, which this is where it doesn't make sense to me for my like most played games. The highest one is MMORPG.
Really?
Yes. That is the one that's maxed out all the way. So I'm like,
okay.
I don't get what's up with that.
I don't know.
But then one, you can tell it's just like slightly less. Then I can't tell which one. I think it's Farming Sim. That's the next one after that. which I did play a lot of Stardew Valley, so that
Okay.
makes sense. And they might consider the one demo I played as a farming sim because it's like a horror farming sim. It's weird. It's like this weird RPG Maker game. And then the third or fourth is the dinosaurs. Just straight up dinosaurs.
I thought that was your highest. That's the funniest.
It's so close. It's like they're all within margin of error. But then
Yeah.
you got creature collector and hunting. That's the other two. They're not even. They're barely moved.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, the MMO one strikes me. What MMO have you played on Steam?
That's the thing. Like I've played a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online.
But
RuneScape. RuneScape I played.
yeah,
that's actually
counts.
on my list.
Yeah.
But it's not that big of a percentage.
Yeah.
I
was
don't know.
gonna say, because I know that we played Embers Adrift for a little while, and you could have.
But was that on Steam?
That's what I was gonna say. It's not through Steam, so
Yeah.
it's not that. What I thought it might have been was the installer takes so long that like you may have left it up overnight, so like it got a good 48 hours in or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know though. It must be considering one of the games or multiple of the games to be MMO.
Yeah, it must be. I bet the dinosaur game is considered MMO.
Oh, you know what? I guarantee you that game's MMO and also Cassette Beasts because you can play that together with other people. Like they have an MMO.
The category
feature.
is so loose now that if it has some sort of multiplayer lobby thing and more than, I don't know what the number is. I would set it at 50, but even 50, is that massive? Is that massively multiplayer? I don't know. That category is so loose now that almost anything fits into it.
But it's like it's RPG. That's not RPG.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is like
I just don't know.
Yeah. So
let's see here. What else do we got?
So then it gets down to the monthly plays and all of that.
Yep. Yeah, Cassette Beast was pretty much all August for me. I'd say a good 90% of my play was in August.
Yeah, for me, Alone in the Dark was August.
But 66 achievements just for that.
So if I look at my highest played month was January, and it was like all Tabletop Simulator. What was I doing in January with all this tabletop?
Just vegging.
I don't even know.
Must play Tabletop Simulator.
I can't even remember what I was playing.
Was any of your games you wanted to watch out yet? Were you just like waiting for your other games to come out, and you're just like, well, I guess I'll play?
Could be. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. And then my next highest month was July, and that was whenever, it was around June or July that the game was that EverQuest 2 launched like a new old server. They launched a new server, but it was like a server that was set in the classic EverQuest.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's why I played that so much in July. I don't know. I haven't been playing anything for this. The month of December is like dramatically lower than all the other months of the year. What was your highest? What was your highest month played?
August.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know what happened here, but it's like January, February, and March are literally like almost identical by like within 2%. Then you got April, which is like 3%. And then it's May that's like maybe 4%.
Yeah. Mine does that too. And I would bet that if you looked at if my job did a similar type graph where it showed what months I was busiest,
it would show exactly the same.
It would be the opposite, yeah.
Or the opposite, yeah.
I didn't do anything, and I didn't play any games in February, but my work schedule probably that month would be like shot way up. And the podcast,
oh, dude, no, you're totally right. You're totally right because April, May, and June we were in like a hard push to do something.
Yeah. And probably Red Hat upgrade, and then and also I bet the podcast release schedules are the same way. Whenever we're busy and we're not playing games, we're not doing the podcast.
You're not wrong. Oh man, that'd be such a good chart to like compare.
Yeah. All right.
Oh man, here comes the bad one. Here's the one that I wish was opposite.
Here's the controversial one, which I know why this is. And it's a good topic for this episode because of some of the other things we're going to talk about in this episode. All right, so my Playtime by operating system, 76% Windows, 21% Linux, 3% Steam Deck.
Dang.
Number of games played, I played 20 games on Windows, I played 16 games on Linux, and I played 6 games on the Steam Deck. What was yours? You said I crushed you.
So my Windows time or percentage was 83%, which isn't
That's not
too far.
crushing.
No, but
Not
wait.
crazy.
But
Yeah.
wait. My Linux time was only 8%.
8%.
Yeah, 8%. I don't understand.
So you've
that.
already used the Steam Deck that much that you were outweighed?
No, so the Steam Deck is separated. Steam Deck is 10%.
Okay, so how's that add up? Oh, it does add up.
Yeah, 10 and it would be 18%
So
between Linux and Steam
you
Deck.
have had your Steam Deck for less time than I've had my second Steam Deck, and you've already used it twice as much as me. So I don't know.
Okay,
who's crushing,
maybe the Steam Deck part of it, sure.
I don't
but
know
the
who's
Linux
crushing
part,
who
though.
here, but
21% in Linux, that's pretty good though.
yeah, but my previous years would have been flip flopped. I know why I did more Windows gaming the last year. The ARC A770, when we first got it, I couldn't get it to work on Linux, and so I had to install Windows.
Yep, same kind of story.
And then I got it, and then once it became usable on Linux, it was still just better on Windows. It's only like just now caught up to where I feel like it's as good on Linux as it is on Windows. And even still, there's certain distros that I'm scared to try because I fear that it won't be as good. And the thing is, and this is going to be a topic we're going to get into a little bit later, but this is a little bit of a spoiler. The thing is, it's just changing so fast. The Intel graphics drivers get better like every 2 weeks. And it's like an additional 2 to 3 weeks before you see that reflected on Linux. And so I feel like I need to use it on Windows. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like stunting my card if I don't use it on Windows. So yeah, so that's why most of the year this year I had Windows. There's been entire years that I've gone without having Windows installed on my computer. So I know that they're in the past.
That's incredible, dude. Wow.
But
I don't think I've ever had that.
But I play old games, so like it doesn't matter. And B is before I got the ARC A770. The ARC A770 is a great card, best value card like out there. And with what we're going to talk about tonight, it's even better. But yeah, it just runs better on Windows. I'm sorry. Like I hate it. It is what it is.
I agree.
It doesn't run so much better that if you were just like philosophically against ever installing Windows on another partition or another anything, it runs great. Like
game
you don't
for game,
need
if
it.
the game works, for game, it's equal. It's definitely equal. But like we'll get into that. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the B580s tonight, baby, which are fan freaking tastic, and I think that they're gonna shake up the entire market. But before we get to that, Steam Deck stats. Mine are miserable. And I've got an excuse for this one too. Mine are miserable. I only played 6 games, 17 sessions.
Oh man,
17 sessions out of 6 games. It was 3% of my playtime for the entire year. The game that I played the most on the Steam Deck, it's really close between Broken Pieces, which is I think it's a French team that makes it, and it's like a horror game, but it gives you the option of either playing like over the shoulder or playing like classic camera style.
Okay,
And then 40% Signalis. So almost 42 versus 40% Signalis, which Signalis is a fantastic game, and it works great on the Steam Deck. The Steam, like it's made for the Steam Deck, I believe. Oh, nice. What are your stats?
All right, so mine is 22 games, 95 sessions, 10% of my playtime.
95%, 95 sessions? Oh my gosh. You only had that thing for 2 months.
So, I know, right? And so it's 39% Stardew Valley, because that game's like perfect for it. Then it's 18% Octopath Traveler, which I only got last month.
I like Octopath Traveler.
That is a fantastic
really
game.
It's a really good game.
I'm going to dive into that this winter break.
I get frustrated with it sometimes. It's hard in places.
Yes. It's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, it's good though. It's really good.
Then it's Finding Paradise, which is an RPG Maker game. Great RPG Maker game. It's
Finding Paradise.
To the Moon is the first one.
Oh, okay.
Then Finding Paradise, second one. Fantastic game. Kingdom Come Deliverance plays amazing, even on high settings, which is I'm blown away because that game looks really good. And then another game I'm blown away by, Horizon Forbidden West. That plays on medium. Which
yeah,
is
and you've been like legendarily having trouble even trying to get that game to
that
play
game will not work on Linux on with the A770. Will not. NVIDIA works fine. Same distro, like literally the same install. I cloned my system, put it on my laptop. It works on NVIDIA. It just will not work on the ARC A770.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to use my Steam Deck more, man. I have an excuse for this. One, if you remember, I don't remember what time of year it was, but earlier in this year, I sold my Steam Deck. And
Yep.
so I went the majority of the year without having it. But then I bought a new one.
That-
Yeah, I sold it. I sold it because I like never play. I sold it because I never used it. And also the OLED came out and I thought, man, I wish I had just waited and got an OLED. And so then I bought an OLED and I've used it 17 times. I can see the count. I've used it 17 times.
Wow.
So I really need to get it out more. I need to play it more. For me, it's like hard to do with the types of games that I play because I play a lot of MMOs and you can't do that.
Yeah,
on
there's
Steam
no
Deck.
good unless you hook it up to a monitor, which then you might as well play on your.
I might as well play on my
PC.
desktop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're great for survival horror games, though. The games that I have played on it are survival
older
horror.
games, older style games,
Mhm.
that kind of survival horror games.
Yep.
Yeah, all
the
that's
other game
great.
that I've played on it a lot is Chained Echoes, which
I
is
got that game too.
That's a good game for the Steam Deck.
I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if I told you, but I did buy it when it was on sale.
Yeah,
I
I
have
remember.
not played
I
it
kept
much.
recommending it. I kept recommending it to you.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's like maybe a few more categories and we'll get out of here. Let's see, 24% of your playtime was with a. Oh, that's interesting. How much do you use a controller?
Where do you see that?
If I keep scrolling just past the Steam Deck, my next category is 24% of your playtime was with a controller. So apparently 1/4 of the time I played with a controller this year.
I don't have that.
Interesting.
Longest delay, daily streak.
Yeah, that's my next one after the controller. Did you
hold
not
on,
use
let
a
me
controller
make
at all this year? Do you think maybe that's why?
Because I used it with my Steam Deck attached to the TV. And I guess the Steam Deck would count as a controller, right?
It must not. It might, because it counts Signalis on mine, and I've only played Signalis on my Steam Deck. So maybe it does. Oh, but it says I've played Magic together. Oh, no, I'm looking. Oh, God. I'm mixing up my categories. No, the things I played with a controller, I remember playing with a controller. The things I played with a controller are all survival horror, so I enjoy those better with a controller. Lake Haven, Chrysalis, Silent Hill 2, Alone in the Dark. But your longest daily streak was 8 days. I feel like I should have a longer streak than that. But it was with EverQuest 2.
Where did mine say that? Oh, yeah, my streak is 19.
Yeah, I'm surprised that mine was only 8 days. I'm too busy. I'm too busy at work this year. I need to give my boss this chart. Say, see? Look.
This needs to increase.
Oh, man. All right. We don't have to go through all of the different...
I do have one that I find hilarious.
Go ahead.
And that's RuneScape says first played in 2024. Except for I'm logging in with my account that was probably made in 2003.
Right. Right, yeah.
I just found that hilarious. I'm like, okay, Steam.
Yeah, mine. So we were saying, what was I doing in January? Literally the only things on my thing in January is Tabletop Simulator and Magic the Gathering. That's so crazy.
I don't know. I wish I could find that controller one. That one's cool. My controller must be so minimal that I just didn't care.
I think you didn't use a controller this year. Yeah.
I might not have.
I'll tell you where the controller comes into play for me is when I'm playing with my son. He can't do the mouse and keyboard, but he can do the controller.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where that comes in for me. All right, well, that was a fun segment. It took it longer than I thought it was going to, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we did it. Let's see, where's the show notes? So we got a comment on the last podcast episode from Ancient24, our regular commenter. This is his section of the show. Also a huge contributor to the Discord. So, this is when we were talking about the Microsoft feature where they were like taking screenshots of your desktop.
Yes.
Recall. Yeah, that's right. So this is in regards to the Microsoft Recall feature. So he says the argument for Microsoft would be something like, here's a gun and some bullets, and I'm giving it to you loaded, but you can eject the clip at any time. except that in reality, it's only one bad Windows update away from magically reloading itself. Yeah, that's the thing. Something
You
that is
forgot to add that you also have to keep pulling that trigger,
yeah.
every 5 seconds.
It's
So
I get what he's saying. It's something that's important to know the fact of whether it's loaded or not before you pull the trigger.
exactly.
In likewise, whether this feature is taking pictures of your desktop and sending it or saving it or whatever it's doing is turned off is something that to feel many people need to know whether that's off or not when they use their computer. And the way Windows works, oftentimes some Windows update will turn a feature on that you thought was
Yep.
off, and you have to go back in and manually turn it off again. And it's a feature that you really want to know that it's off whenever you said it was off. So I think that's a good example of that dilemma.
I definitely agree.
And we got an email, a great email from Fernando. And this ties into our Arch Linux conversation where we were discussing our Arch install. And we need to talk about that topic after this email.
Yeah. That's a heck of a topic for me.
But this email is exactly what I was talking about. I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast or if it was just you and I talking after we recorded that episode. But you and I talked about we wanted to customize a pristine install and actually script it. And this is exactly what he's talking about is what I wanted to do. So he says, "Hi, Bo and Josh. In the last podcast, you commented how you want to build a customized Arch install." So we must have talked about that. Before the current Arch install script existed, I, as many others, created my own version of it where I get to decide what to do at each step, ext4 or ButterFS, encrypt the boot partition, Sway or Hyperland, etc. If you want to create your own Arch install, I recommend you start by downloading one of these custom installers from the community and modify it to fit your needs. Mine is not better than others, but hey, it's mine. And he gave us a link to a Git project for Arch install that he created. And he says, P.S. I look forward to finding out what you ended up using, as I'm always searching for the perfectly customizable installer. Fernando. Thank you very much for the email. Really cool email. And that's exactly what we were wanting to do. So
Basically.
I didn't even think about that. I don't know why we didn't. That never crossed my mind that we could just look at what other community members have created and just adapt what they have.
Yeah, I didn't think about the community.
Like completely the lifeblood of the whole Linux thing. We didn't even think about.
Why do you use Linux? I use it to be in isolation.
No, I mean, I had heard of people doing that, though. There's someone in our Discord community, and I know that when we were doing the Linux Mint podcast, there was a lot of people that posted theirs in there. I'm sure Joe has one that we could get from him. It is a really common thing, and but I really wanted to like try to make something. I guess I just wanted the act of doing it all, I guess is what it was.
Yeah.
So the Arch install, we did our Arch installs. Are you on Arch right now?
I am not.
I didn't mean to goat you into that, but I already knew the answer.
I'll admit it. It
I
wasn't a failure, but it wasn't bulletproof.
Didn't you keep it on your laptop though? Keep it on your, or did
So
you ditch that too?
I kinda have been doing all sorts of testing between Fedora and Arch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So right now I have Fedora on my laptop, but that was because I cloned my desktop to put on the laptop to see if Horizon Zero Dawn or for Horizon Forbidden West ran.
Yeah. So for me, it's easier for me than it is for you because, like I said, we were talking about it before the show. This computer now basically only does the podcast and gaming. I do all my work stuff on another PC. And I used to use this computer for like art related stuff, but I bought a laptop that I use for that. And basically I have dedicated devices for these different things. I don't have one PC that's trying to do everything anymore the way I used to. So it's easier. It's a little easier for me, honestly. I could blow this away and I'm not really at risk of losing anything other than my saved files for games.
Yeah.
And so it's a low,
I totally
pretty low tolerance.
I totally agree. And in fact, I actually, as I was cleaning, not that you can tell from my background, but as I was cleaning, I found an old PC NVMe like adapter.
Yeah.
And I was looking around and I saw a couple of hard drive or NVMe's on my desk, and I was like, tonight I actually installed that, and I think that's what I'm going to use to be my like Linux playground kind of thing.
No, that's good. That's a good thing to have because we're always trying
Well,
new distros and stuff.
and the thing was, is I was getting fed up with I've been using a USB attached SSD to do this.
Oh yeah.
And it works fine until it doesn't. And then
Yeah,
all
I can see that being a
scripts. I
pain.
wanted to get rid of I wanted to get rid of that factor. So
Yeah.
I'm like, this will be pretty good. Yeah. And I will say though that what I've learned with Fedora now, I think I'm gonna have to go to Arch because I'm gonna need the most up-to-date stuff that I can get. I almost need to go Gen 2 to get the most up to date.
We keep getting that request. I'm too scared.
I know.
I'm too scared.
I know. Me too. I just don't have time for Gen 2. But
you see my Steam? You see my Steam stats?
You want it to be lower? No. But seriously, I found out that the reason why Horizon Forbidden West will not run is because something to do with this program Steam uses called Fossilize to do the shader pre-caching. Or the shader compilation, whatever.
Interesting.
And what's happening is something to do with that is not letting the game load with the ARC, the A770.
Yeah.
I can go to the title screen, I can load up the game, it goes through the shader caching and all that, or rendering, whatever, all that, and it gets right to the end and it freezes and that's it. And the way I found out that it was something to do with that is that I looked. Let's see here. I definitely found it on some forum or whatever, and it had to do with the fossilized thing. And I'm like, okay, so how can I do this? And I asked on, let's see, was it Steam or Intel? I think it was Steam, the Steam forum. I asked, can I pull down this from your GitHub and just make it and see if it works? And the guy's pretty much not. You're going to have to just wait till Steam basically includes it. But the fix is in there. There is a fix, and it's in Fossilized.
Wow.
But it's just not into Steam yet. So I'm like, I want the newest of the new.
I wonder if you could somehow do it through Lutris. Is there a way to download the non-Steam version of the game?
Well, the thing is, it has something specifically to do with the art.
Yeah.
So
I'm just wondering.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know what you mean, but I don't know. I don't know if
a lot of games you can't. A lot of games you can't without another license, like a license for the game. So I can think of what's the game called? It's the MMO that's like the top-down. It's RuneScape, but it's a new game. It's all PvP. We used to talk about it all the time. I was farming carrots in the game.
Yes. Ah, crap. What the heck is that? Ah, it is. It's in my library. Albion
Online. But many other games do this too. But if like your Steam version of the game is not the same as your non-Steam version.
Yeah.
So like with Albion, I think it might be free to play on Steam. But in any case, when the game originally came out, I made an account on the non-Steam version. Well, then the Steam version came out, and because of Proton, I wanted to play the Steam version. Well, that's a completely different account. So I can imagine, like, even if you can download the non-Steam version through Lutris, you probably still have to own the non-Steam version. It depends on the game developer. Some allow you to, some don't. But I wonder if through Lutris you could get that fix.
Oh, no, you know what? I'm looking here. It's not only to do with that. I forgot about this part of it, but it also has to do with the Mesa drivers.
Oh, yeah.
It's something to do between Mesa and that fossilized program that's doing the shaders.
So this is the problem. This is the problem.
That's why I wanted Arch, because I wanted it to be as new as possible, the Mesa drivers.
So this is the problem with the ARC cards, is that when you have a problem with a game, everybody out there has NVIDIA or AMD and Radeon. And so there's fixes for those problems, but like you're a small percentage trying to run on your ARC cards. So it could get better as more people buy these Battle Mage series cards, or when future cards come out. I think it will continue to get better. But right now, that is you're like in an extra level of obscurity because like you're already obscured because you're a Linux gamer versus a Windows
Yep.
gamer. But then you're like also this like Intel card gamer amongst the Linux gamer community.
That's another thing that I thought about. Well, this was like last month. I thought about this, but I'm like, I don't think I've ever had a mainstream GPU. Because
Really?
you know what it was? I was looking at the Steam survey over the years of GPUs, and I'm like, as I'm looking through that, I'm like, I've never had a mainstream one of the GPUs that were in the top category. In fact, most of my GPUs weren't even on the list.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's pretty wild. I always had mainstream GPUs, never the top of the line, but you know, within NVIDIA's main lineup.
No, I never had top of the line either, but none of mine were like
That's
mainstream
funny.
ever.
Until this is the first time that I've been in the obscure circle, the hipster GPU circle. So our Arch Linux installation. So again, I use the Arch install script that's on the ISO.
Yeah, I did.
It takes all the fun out of it, but it works. It works so well. It's worth doing. We talked last episode about how we were going to research ButterFS versus ext4 and then decide which file system we would choose is our main file system. And I did ButterFS. I chose ButterFS. And everything worked fine. I had no issues. I did snapshots.
Okay.
I got to admit, I never tried to recover from a snapshot. I was taking snapshots all day.
Why is my disk full? Oh, wait.
But I never tried to recover to one. So as far as I know, they were completely useless or they were perfect. I don't know. You tried one, right? And you had a bad experience.
Yes. So I didn't exactly, I used a GUI tool for this because
time shift, right?
It's just, yes, I use time shift, and
that's what everybody uses.
Yes, but I believe I figured out what I did wrong. But what happened was when I tried to restore, it would just load up to basically the grub prompt every time. I don't understand this. I tell it to install grub, but it never seems to do it. Well, I found out that it is hard-coded in TimeShift to use update -grub, not the actual command. That is a alias that Ubuntu uses for the actual command.
Interesting.
So when it does it, it's not actually doing it.
Huh.
So all I had to do was alias the command, and it would have worked fine. I guarantee it would have worked fine.
Wow, that's such an obscure thing. That's crazy.
And I probably could have also just went in with a USB disk and rebuilt grub, and it probably would have booted. It probably
would have worked. Yeah.
I just was so frustrated with it because I'm like, why does this keep happening? It shouldn't happen.
Well, when you were having so much trouble with it, for the sake of the show, I should have tried it. But what's funny is I was on ButterFS all the way up until... Oh, I remember what it was. We were going to record. We actually wrote show notes and everything for an episode 53, all talking about the Arch installation. And included in those show notes was that I was going to test snapshotting. And because we never did the episode, I eventually needed to reinstall because I was having an issue. Oh, man. I need to figure out what the issue was. I was having some issue with something. And I just said, you know what? I'm still at the beginning of this. I'm just going to go back and reinstall. Like, I'm not so far into the game yet that it's not a big deal. And so I just reinstalled. And when I reinstalled the second time, I chose the ext4 because I felt like we had already done the research that we were intending to do for the show. And the main takeaway, there's a lot of details involved, but the main takeaway that you need to consider whenever you're trying to choose between ButterFS or ext4, ButterFS is... its most useful feature is the snapshotting feature. And if you're running a system that you think that's going to be useful, like I was saying earlier, I basically only do the podcast and play games on this PC. So it's really not useful for me. I really, it's not important. My laptop, which I do a lot more important stuff on, I think maybe ButterFS is a good choice for that one. It might be interesting to have some kind of snapshotting system where I nightly or weekly take some sort of snapshot, and then I can recover through time shift. But you can still use time shift with ext4. It uses rsync instead of the ButterFS snapshots.
And you could also use it with ButterFS. You can use the rsync. In fact, I was using both. I was switching between them, and that works just fine. I had no problem with that.
But if you're using rsync, I think that you're probably better off just using ext4 though.
Yes, I agree. You are. But in my case, rsync worked. ButterFS didn't.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we said would happen last week, where we said we'll research it, and then we're probably just going to choose the ext4.
So, side note also to this whole thing is I tried another application called ButterFS Manager. I believe it's called. Don't me on that one, but it's another snapshotting tool. All this stuff.
Yeah.
So what was happening with that one is when I would open up the program, it would somehow unmount my root and my what did I have? Did I have root and anyways, an unmounted root and another partition, and mounted it under mount / the disk UUID.
Yeah.
And then when I closed the application after I did whatever I wanted to do, things just started crashing. Like my desktop went nuts. I'm like, what is going on? And I had to eventually go into the command line, and I did a LSBLK, I did a mount, and I saw that the mount was wrong. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. And then I found a post on the Discord, the GitHub for that application, that the guy supposedly fixed this, but it is not fixed. That thing is broken.
Man.
I don't know if it happens to everyone, but it was happening to me bad. I mean, I'm talking applications just started totally freezing, and eventually the whole system just froze. I couldn't open applications. I'd click on one. I'd try to open them from the command line. Nothing worked. It just was totally borked. I had to reboot. That's the only way to fix it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Another kind of key takeaway to point out about the difference between ButterFS and ext4 is that supposedly there's a very minuscule performance difference between the two. The ext4 is slightly faster. I have to say, I didn't really notice that. I played games on both. No. It's not like I was lagging on ButterFS versus ext4.
Yeah, I think it's probably in very niche use cases.
Maybe whenever, because it would be the hard drive. So, I mean, maybe whenever you're specifically writing or reading something.
I feel like it's small files, mostly because it's got the not the cache, but the metadata. The metadata it's got to keep track of, so that you can do the snapshots and all that.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where it's taken the hit. So it's probably has nothing to do with actually loading huge files like graphics and all that stuff.
So I posted in here a topic: GNOME versus KDE versus Hyperland, and of course we're talking about KDE Plasma.
Exactly.
Right now, my desktop is running on the KDE Plasma.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it has been for several weeks. You didn't even know this. Yeah.
Interesting.
I started out, I installed Hyperland, which I don't know if you've heard about Hyperland. It's a tiling window manager.
Yep.
It was really cool.
Is this gonna evolve as we go?
What do you mean?
You're gonna start with Hyperland, that's gonna be I don't know, and then GNOME, I don't know, and then go to KDE.
What happened was that is what happened. So Hyperland, I really liked. I would like to be a Hyperland guy. I really would. I see the appeal of it. It's beautiful. It's really tinkery. There's a lot you can tinker with everything. Everything in it, and it fits it is the quintessential. This is what Arch is, because Arch is about having complete control, and Hyperland is complete control. I fell out of hyperspace just because there was just too much. There's too much I can fiddle with. There's too much control. I don't want that much control. And I could see why people love it, but I really was spending more time tweaking things on my desktop than I was actually using or doing anything on my computer.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I get afraid of with using Arch and Hyperland and stuff like that. I'm just I just don't want to have to tweak constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, there is a level of it that I enjoy, but then it gets to a point where I'm like, this is too much. As a matter of fact, I enjoy it so much I can get lost in it, and I'm not actually doing anything on my PCs. I've been in my office for 6 hours. My wife's, what were you doing in there? And I'm like, I'm trying to get my title bar just the way. I'm trying to decide whether I want 3 icons on the right side.
And then you get the glazed look, and it's just okay.
Yeah. So I ditched Hyperland. I kept it installed, but I just went ahead and installed GNOME on top of it. And I don't know, the latest version of GNOME had some features in it that kind of irked me. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and there are features that I've only seen installing GNOME like vanilla on Arch. Like usually if you use GNOME,
the vanilla GNOME is definitely.
I don't think that I've ever
beast.
noticed these same quirks on the Fedora version, but there was just like resizing windows and stuff. Like I had to hold down a key and like I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was really weird, and it just, again, one of those things where I just wanted to get back in use, and so I just said I'm gonna reinstall and I'm gonna install KDE Plasma, and I'm just gonna use that, and so that's what I did, and I've been using it, and it's been fine. I won't say that it's blown me away. I haven't changed much. It's basically I moved my bar from the bottom to the top just because I'm an old school Linux user, as the OGs know. And that's it. I haven't changed anything else. It's been cool. So I guess I'm a Plasma.
That's what I like about Plasma.
I'm a Plasma user now.
You don't gotta change much.
Yeah, I know.
It
but again,
works, man.
it goes against that. It goes against that whole like philosophy
but
of what
it
Arch
doesn't
is.
though, because you can look at Garuda Linux. Okay, that's what you can do with Plasma.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't do that with GNOME. Try doing that with GNOME. Good luck.
Is Garuda the one that's on Neon?
Yes.
Yeah, that looks terrible. Sorry.
I cannot stand it. I cannot use it. I'm sure people love it, but I cannot use it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
still Plasma's capable.
Yep. I don't need a neon rainbow desktop. So the last thing that I tried to do, this was a failure, the terminal. So I'm just using the console or whatever.
Okay.
But
had some success with this.
I want some suggestions in the comments of good terminal emulators. And I want something modern, okay? So I've seen on Mac OS people use these like AI consoles or AI terminal emulators where, you know, they'll suggest different things based on what you're typing and what you're doing, and it'll suggest what you should do. It'll track and use, you know, different. I want something cool. So I heard about a emulator. I forget which is which. One is the closed source one and one is the open source one, but there's Wave and there's Warp. And I'm not reviewing those on the show right now. I don't know enough about them. If anybody knows about those two terminal emulators or ones like them, please leave a comment on this episode. Tell me what terminal emulator I should be using on Arch Linux, and I want something with modern features. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep using console, and I'll just dress it up to look nice. But I want to try something better. I want to graduate my terminal experience. What did you say you had good luck with? Did you try something fancy?
So I didn't try Wave. I have no idea what that is, but I've tried Warp. I did not necessarily like that one as much.
Let me see which one I have installed. I have one of them installed.
So yeah, I tried.
Apparently I have neither of them
sorry.
installed.
I'm sorry. I did not try Warp. I'm looking at the ones that I had here. It's WesTerm is what I tried.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, WesTerm. It's got tabs and stuff. It's got a little more features than the other two that I tried out of the box without configuring. But I think WesTerm has some sort of AI kind of crap going on. I can't remember if that one does. But then I also tried Kitty.
Yeah,
which is
you have to have Kitty for Hyperland too.
Yeah, that one's a little more stripped down. Well, yeah, very much stripped down as far as
it's like a minimalist terminal, basically.
Yes. And then I finally settled on Alacrity.
Oh, I forgot about Alacrity. Yes.
Yeah. The reason why I settled on that is because there's a build for everything. You can get it anywhere. There might be for others, but that one you can really find everywhere. And also, it's written in Rust, so I trust it.
Yeah, I've used it before in the past. I forgot about that one.
It's fast too.
Right now, that is probably the best option, unless someone leaves a comment with something better. I think that's probably the best option.
There's tons of plugins for it too, tons of settings. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
The next thing I need to decide after that is a web browser. So
Come on, man. You're not just using Firefox? What the heck? What kind of Linux guy are you?
I am just using Firefox right now, but I usually am a Chrome. I usually am a Chrome person, but I just feel like there's got to be something new out there. I've been using Chrome for 20 years. There's got to be something new out there that I know about. There was one that we tried a while back. You use a different one.
Yeah, I use Vivaldi.
Vivaldi, that's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, Vivaldi never really did it for me. There was the crypto one.
Brave.
I liked Brave. I used it a lot.
So I will have to say that Brave, other than the crypto stuff that they do, has been swaying me, because when you try to do any kind of, what am I trying to say? Test your browser security, test your fingerprinting and all that crap.
Yeah.
Brave beats out all of them. I mean, there's nothing that can touch Brave. Even Firefox. There's certain things that Firefox doesn't quite match Brave on. And Vivaldi, so the draw for me for Vivaldi is, there's two draws. One, it's got huge customizability. You can do pretty much anything you want with it. And two, it is, shoot, now I lost my second. Man, darn it. I had it. Man.
Okay, so
I can't remember. I think
it's the categories. Is it the categories? I know they do a lot of categorization in Vivaldi.
No, that was within the features and all that, the customization. It's not what I was thinking.
Okay.
Oh, no AI stuff. They have no anything. They said they have a hard stance against it, all that stuff.
So I'm looking for the AI terminal, but the AI stripped away browser.
Well, so the reason why I don't want it is because it's so annoying. It just keeps popping up trying to say, oh, I'll suggest this. Even Firefox has it now. You're on Amazon and it's, oh, here's the reviews that are actually true. And I'm like, that's nice, but like, how do I trust it? I can't trust that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes.
But like terminal suggestions would be great.
The thing about AI, and it's just like whenever blockchain was like the huge thing. Like, it's like, there are applications of it where it's, yes, this is a legitimate use case where this is actually useful. And then there's applications of it where it's like, you are just trying to add the buzzword AI into your product, and this is really just annoying.
I heard the absolute most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my entire life today on one of the podcasts I listened to. And that's these robots that they have, or I don't know if they're actual robots, but they're just AI companions that people actually have relationships with. And like now they have these kids that are getting attached to these like pets or like emotional support AI.
Oh, interesting.
And this is the problem. Is they're all these startups and they're closing and these kids get attached to them and then they have to shut them off. So it's like, what do you tell your kid? I don't even have kids and this bothers me deeply.
That's crazy. That is like literal movies are made about that subject.
I was just appalled at that. I'm like, this has to stop. That has to stop. That needs to be illegal.
I'll research that more before the next episode. Yeah, I don't know. I use ChatGPT like all the time. So right now, my wife and I.
Oh yeah, I use AI too. There's no question. I use AI because it does help about it.
Yeah,
there's just certain applications that are just not good.
It's just like with any new technology where there are applications that are useful and there's applications that's just like not a scam, but it's just like they're just trying to, they're trying to solve a problem that doesn't really exist with a tool.
They're trying to use a GPU to do floating point operations and a CPU to render graphics. That's what they're doing.
All right. Speaking of CPUs and GPUs, this was supposed to be the main topic of the show, but I feel like we filled up the whole show with other topics. The Battle Mage B series cards are coming out. They're sold out. They're selling like hotcakes.
Oh yeah.
And
speaking of that though, I did hear that apparently Intel, I don't know if you have this in the notes, I didn't look at that, but apparently Intel is going to be shipping them out weekly so that they don't have this whole like never on sale for like months.
That's cool.
That's cool. That I did hear that.
So I guess I don't know. I mean, we'll probably talk about it again next week, so it's probably good that we filled this episode up with other stuff. But, I mean, it's a $250 graphics card, and the B580, $250. And it has 12 gigs of RAM.
Yep.
Compare that to the cards you and I have that we bought a year ago. we have 16 gigs of RAM.
Yep.
But these cards are punching up. They are doing better performance than even our 16 gig cards by the same company.
Yep.
And they are being compared to the NVIDIA 4060 is the comparison that I see most often.
Even the 4060 Ti. It's been fighting with, and that's a $400 card.
Yep, another 16 gig card. And yeah, I mean, $250. And it's not a giant, ridiculous card, which I don't think the 4060 is either.
No.
It's just like Intel is, they're really taking a different approach here, because I feel like this was like the key thing that I thought about is I feel like the video card industry has been, well, in order to make them better, we have to put in more memory, which means we have to dissipate more heat. We have to produce, we have to use more power. It's all just been about how can we make them run cooler so that we can make them perform harder, so that we can add more memory. And they've just been trying to make them better by just improving the hardware. Yeah, like brute force. Yeah, exactly. Brute force. And NVIDIA has said, yeah, we're actually going to move in the opposite direction. These cards are going to do better than our previous cards, and they're going to have less hardware. And how are we going to do it? Magic, baby. We're Intel. That's just what we do.
AI.
Actually, there is some AI involved.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we're probably not seeing these AI features on Linux. I don't know for sure, but they have a feature where they are upscaling the output, and they're actually adding in frames. They're actually producing frames.
Oh no, we get that. We get that. The FSR or XESS, I think
XESS is what Intel calls it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we get all that. Yep. Yep, because that's what the Steam Deck uses, actually. Well, I mean, Steam Deck's not Intel, but it uses that FSR.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to see that they're getting. I mean, all the reviews have been stellar, and
yeah, it's been crazy. Like I am so impressed that they had this kind of a uptick between generations, and the power decreased, the power usage, the core count decreased, the RAM decreased, and it's 30% more powerful. Like, what the heck? How does that make any sense?
It's so crazy, man, and it makes me excited to see what they're gonna do, what the future is. I want one of these cards, and that's the thing, dude.
Yep.
If I $250, I might buy one of these cards, man. They're like ridiculous. I would never be thinking about buying the next NVIDIA card to come out a year later.
Oh yeah, no, 100% not.
But at $250, if it has better frame rates than my card, I don't know.
The thing that stops me is the fact that this is the mid tier. They're gonna release a B770
card that's gonna be great. Yeah,
that's gonna crush.
Yeah,
it's gonna probably be 4080. Like, crushing, not crushing, but blow for blow, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be, I can't even imagine. I'm trying to fathom this, how they did this. Meanwhile, their stock is plummeting.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe not plummeting, but it's definitely not doing good.
I don't know. I don't know either way. I'm not suggesting that it's not. I don't know either way.
It's crazy to me how this is all going down. And I'm like, go Intel. Freaking, we need a third.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is I've never been a huge. What's crazy is I have an AMD CPU in my PC.
Me too.
And
I've never had an Intel CPU in my gaming rig, in my main PC.
The first PC I ever built had an Intel Q6600, and after that I've gotten AMD, and I love the Ryzen CPUs, and I think it pairs great with my ARC card. So I'm going to read some metrics here. Now, this is according to IGN.com. I also have some metrics that are, I won't say contradictory, but are like less spectacular on TechSpot.
I've seen some controversial.
It goes back and forth. And it seems like these cards perform better at 1440, which is weird.
That is weird. I didn't know that. I didn't even.
Yeah, they seem. So I think what it is, it's not necessarily that the card itself performs better than itself
right
at 1080. But at 1440, they're more competitive than other cards at 1440.
Okay.
So according to this is across 8 games. So this is the average across 8 different games. And I'm going to compare it to our card, the ARC A770. They have it in this list. That's why I like this list. The A770 is in green here. Oh, but I can't read these numbers. So the A770 scored a 55. The B580 scored a 67. So
wow.
compare a 55 to a 67 score on 55 was on 16 gigs of RAM. The 67 was only on 10.
Wow.
And compare that to so the best performing card in the list is this aqua color. It looks like it scored an 87. And that is the Radeon RX 7700 XT, which is a much more expensive card.
Yeah, that's
the
like
card
next
that
tier.
performed closest to, so the closest to the ARC B580 is this blue color, which is a Radeon RX 7600 XT. Huh.
That's what my wife has in her system. Is
really?
7600 XT. Yep.
Wow. It did better. The ARC A770. Oh, yeah. It did way better than the ARC A770. Oh, yeah. And you guys just built that not too long ago. So that's the newer PC.
March it was.
So this is the price comparison. So the price comparison, and this is MSRP price, which they almost never sell for MSRP.
No.
Of course, the highest performing by a very long shot is the A770. The next two in line are tied with the NVIDIA 4060 Ti and the RX 7700 XT. Oh, so the RX 7700 XT is actually priced pretty well for its performance average then.
Yeah. So just to throw a little monkey wrench into this whole thing.
Yeah.
I actually did a little research on the 6700s and the 60, I think it's a 6650.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it actually compares pretty well to the B580.
The B580
for the same price.
Yeah, I have.
Now, you're going back a generation, but I'm saying, like, if you can't find a card, just go back a generation. You can.
That lines up with the metrics that I found at TechSpot, and I found this just before we did the show, so I'm reading them live. But the thing that I noticed about their performance compared to Intel's advertised performance and the IGN performance comparisons is that yeah, like you're saying, the ARC B580 still does very well, and compared to the price, it does ridiculously well. But yeah, the 60, let's see, you said the 6700 XT.
Yeah, 6700 was darn close to it, if not a little better.
I was gonna say it's very comparable. It is a little behind. So this is looking at Jedi Survivor. They do several different games. Some games, it depends on whether it's using ray tracing. Like there's some.
It also depends on the driver version they used. Apparently, there's been several games where these reviewers have used a driver version that is not optimal.
Oh,
and then they release a driver version.
Yeah.
And it increases by 20% or 30%.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing too, is these Intel drivers are changing so rapidly that yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue with reviews.
I'll say this. I've never seen drivers alone make my frames go from
that's what's so
30
crazy.
to like 80.
That's what's so crazy
I've
about
seen
it.
that
That's what's
personally.
so crazy about it. That's why I've been using Windows, is because I've been wanting to get the most supported drivers. So yeah, the ARC B580 scores a 79, and this is measured in frames, I think. Yeah, this is measured in frame rate. So
that's average, and then the one underneath it was the 1% low.
Yep.
Which is like where your stutter is going to happen.
Right. And comparing it to the card that you mentioned, the previous generation Radeon card, you said the 6700 XT?
Yep.
Yeah, it actually is doing a little bit better. 83. 79 to 83.
But then look at the 3060 Ti. That's about the same there too.
Yeah, the 3060 Ti.
I don't know what the price of that one is though.
85. It's doing a little better than that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the price is on those. But on 1440, it closes the gap. So this is what I'm saying. It's so weird.
Wow.
It's so weird how it runs better on 1440. So on 1440, looking at the same card comparison, so the 6700 XT did better than the B580 on 1080. But on 1440, the B580 essentially does almost the same. Oh no, it does a little bit. It still does a little bit lower frame rate, but it now is even with the 6700 XT.
That's crazy. And look at this. Look at this. The 7700 XT, 66 FPS. The B580, 51 FPS.
Yeah.
That 7700 XT is like $450 card.
Yeah.
You're talking 10. Well, what is that?
And who knows how much the 4070 is? Let's look that up.
That one is that I would consider that being quite a bit more because that's 51 versus 73 FPS.
Yeah. I just mean cost, like.
Oh yeah,
you're
cost,
right. 73 versus 66. You're right. It is significantly better. But Radeon already has pretty decent prices. And then for Intel to be competitive even with them.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, it's not the best card out there. If you're running 1440, it seems like it does a better performance comparison.
Yeah.
Than
But then
1080.
also look at our ARC cards too. 45 FPS versus 51.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I almost want to buy one of these things.
I don't know if it's quite that much. Like I said, if they do it 770, I might, but
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see that. Surely they are. Surely they are.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be coming.
Yeah, surely they are. It won't be $250 though is the thing.
No. But it might be 350.
I bet it'll be 450. I bet they go up $200. I would be more hesitant to buy it at that.
Yeah, definitely. Unless it was like blowing the 4080 out of the water or something.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, this is crazy. It's crazy. It's not the best card in the world, but if you're building a new PC today, and that's another thing I'll point out too, is you have to have resizable bar enabled. So you have to have a motherboard that allows for the enabling of resizable bar.
Yes.
Without resizable bar, it's a usable graphics card, but you can't take advantage of all the features. It won't give you this performance. You're better off buying a Radeon 6700 or something.
I know that from personal experience on my card.
Yeah, resizable bar is very important. And so I think that this is not a good graphics card to buy if you're trying to upgrade an older PC. It is for...
Yes, you know for a fact it has it.
Right. It's for... Also, I think that it's important that... I think the reason why it works so well in my PC is because I have a $300 graphics card and a $500 CPU. You know what I mean? Like, I invested heavily in getting a really good CPU and motherboard, and then I slapped this graphics card in it. And I think that's why I get really good performance with it. And that's because these Intel cards need resizable bar, and they're going to utilize your CPU for graphics. And so I think this is ideal for someone that is building a new PC and they want to get a modern motherboard. They want to invest in a good CPU, and this $250 graphics card is going to perform very well on a system like that. I think that's exactly what this is for. And then Linux support. So Level 1 Tech, which out of all the tech YouTubers, that's become my favorite, is Level 1 Tech. Level 1 Tech, they did a Linux review on the B580.
Okay.
And they said what we said about the A770, that it runs well, but you have to keep up with drivers. It definitely lags behind Windows performance. So it's a matter of always having to do this catch up where...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just wish... So I was hopeful when they first started doing the Intel Arc with Ubuntu. They had drivers that you could install separately.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe they're going to do a Windows driver install, and then maybe a week later they'll do the Linux driver, and you can just install it normally on any distro. But no, you have to have one with an up-to-date kernel. There's no...
Yeah, that's the issue.
Mesa drivers.
I think you're better off on Arch than anywhere. But yeah, that's the problem, is that the kernel, and it makes sense. There's only so much Intel can do putting out a driver for Ubuntu if Ubuntu doesn't go to the latest kernel for another 7 months. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's limitations there.
And I know it's been a contention with NVIDIA having to build their drivers for it, but they've gotten way better with that. I've never had issues with their drivers in the last since I've used them, but in the last
and then the
3
other
years at
trade-off,
least.
the other trade-off is what we were talking about earlier with you download a game from Steam and it has a gold rating on ProtonDB.
Yes.
And then you've got some weird issue that nobody else has because like you're probably the only dude using an ARC A770 or in this case a B580.
I'm trying to play Horizon Forbidden West on an Intel integrated GPU.
Yeah, so
It's
that's
not integrated.
this happened to me. I can't remember what game it was. But this happened to me recently, and I know what it was. It turned out to not be the issue, but again,
okay,
because you have this obscure card, you're constantly thinking, is this the reason that this is not working? It turned out to not even be related to it, but I was having an issue downloading and installing Lord of the Rings Online recently, and it turned out just to be an issue like on their servers. Like it was their issue. It was Windows users were having the same problem.
That. Yep.
But always I'm like, is it because I got this weird graphics card?
Hey, sometimes it's true. Sometimes that's exactly what the problem is.
So I hate to say it, but I would say if you're getting one of these graphics cards, it's great for Linux users, but I would say it's for the Linux user that also has a Windows partition.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the definitely the case. Yeah, for now, definitely for now. Yeah, as things go on, as usual, the older the card gets, the better it'll be on Linux, and that's just how it's always been forever.
But also, the older the ecosystem of the
yeah, right. The more ARC cards
ARC
that are released,
series,
and
right,
the ARC of the ARC cards.
Yeah, but don't get the wrong conclusion. We're fans. We don't want to tell you to buy it and then it doesn't work.
Yeah, and have issues. I agree. Yeah, I don't want anyone to have to deal with what we have to. They don't need to.
Oh, one last thing. I thought this was a pretty cool way that they TechSpot broke down the cost per frame. So based on MSRP, the cost per frame, of course, the ARC B580 blows it out of the water at $250. It's $4.38 per frame.
Wow.
The one right behind it, I was surprised. The 7600, the RX 7600, not the XT, just the 7600.
No, the 8 GB one.
And it's because you can get it for MSRP $270, but that's one of those cards that's the MSRP, but you're unlikely to actually find it at that price.
Exactly.
It's $5.74 a frame, so like $1.10 more. But then they actually have the cost per frame typical retail price. So this is based on what they typically sell for. And the top two are the Intel cards, the B550 at $4.38 and the A770 at $4.89 per frame. So if you look at it cost per frame, they're pretty similar actually.
The scalpers haven't caught on to Intel yet though.
Yeah, really. And then right after that is the RX 7600. So
yeah, problem with the 7600 was it has 8 gigs, and that's nowadays that's minimum. That's minimum what you need.
I know, that's crazy.
You can't get away with less than 8.
It is crazy.
So that's why I got the 7600 XT for my wife, because I figured that's going to be good for a long time as far as graphics RAM's concerned.
Yeah, it is wild, and I find it so interesting that they made these cards with such a low amount for a card that's come out today, such a low amount, but it's performing well.
I know. Again, everything decreased, but the performance increased.
Yeah, it's so crazy. They're punching up. All right, well, I guess this is the end of the show. Oh, the 12 gigs of RAM. 10 gigs of RAM is the 570. I think I said 10 gigs earlier too. Okay. The 580 is 12 gigs. Yeah, my bad. Other than that, they're really similar. Really minor differences between the two. And then the A770 16 or 8. Yeah, that's always confusing, is that there's an 8 gig version and a 16 gig version, but they're the same like model number.
And then they got the B series, but they did the A series first. Now, what are they going to do? C series? Like I don't. Are they going backwards? I don't understand what's going on there.
There's apparently there's another version of this too that was on embargo until recently. Oh. So it says that they don't talk about it in this article, and then I went back to TechSpot's homepage, and they don't mention it anywhere else on the homepage either. But they said, let me see if I can find that section. It says on hand for testing, we have the Intel ARC B580 limited edition, along with a AIB models. What is AIB?
That's a good question. I
As
don't know.
is basic models. I don't know. But it says the AIB models are under embargo for another 24 hours. The limited edition models features Intel Signature Stealth Black design and a dual fan configuration, which that's the ones I love the way they look. The PCB compact, bada. They don't mention what the AIB was. I don't know what to think about that. I haven't seen anybody really talk about it, so it may be nothing. It may just be.
Oh, I think it's the partner models.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because there are partner models of this out.
It says AIB partner models.
I want the real thing, dude. They look so beautiful. I love the like sleek.
I know.
Design.
That's what I really like the most about our cards. Is it just looks so pristine. It looks so good, and the RGB on it.
Yeah,
they put it in all the right spots. It's just perfect.
Look at mine now, so beautiful over there. This is
just watching it glow.
This is now the ARC. This is the ARC Kernel Panic podcast.
We've had many names.
Thanks for listening. This week. We'll see you again probably after Christmas, after the first of the year. And so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and peace.
See ya.